Hello everyone, have you ever managed to sacrifice all your pieces in a single game? Now imagine, after all that, still winning. In this video, I'll show you the game between Grigory Serper and Ioannis Nikolaitis. By the end, you'll see that every single piece you now see on the board was offered up by White as a sacrifice to Black. Yes, they didn't go as far as sacrificing the king, but still, it's pretty impressive. White begins the game with c4, Black replies g6, then e4, bishop g7, and d4. White completely seizes the center with pawns. Black responds b6. Knight develops to c3. Knight f6. Knight e2. Black brings in their other knight, delaying castling a bit. White plays knight g3, and after c6, White completes the kingside development, getting ready to castle. a6. Still no castling from Black. White, noticing that the Black king hasn't castled yet and might go long, also doesn't show their hand yet. They develop the bishop to e3, and after h5, Black reveals their plan, and it seems Napoleonic. As we can see, Black is launching on both the king side and queen side. That is, Black is trying to play across the entire board, which doesn't always end well. So White plays f3, reinforcing the central pawn on e4. Black strikes on the queen side with b5. White doesn't capture on b5, but instead goes c5, locking Black's pawn on c6. Black captures on c5, and after White recaptures, Black's queen comes to c7. Castling, and h4. Black's pawn charges forward like a battering ram toward the White king.
But nothing too dangerous yet. The knight has only one retreat square, h1. Another knight jumps to h5, preparing to leap to f4. The queen moves to d2, preventing that threat. After e5, the White knight returns to play on f2. In this position, after some thought, Black decides against short castling, which may have been a decent option here, and plays knight f8, perhaps preparing to relocate it to e6 or d7 and castle long. White, who's ahead in development, starts to intensify play. a4. White targets the queen side. After b4, Black avoids exchanges and tries to close the position. Then comes knight d5, the first sacrifice in this game. White offers the knight on d5. Black has no better option and captures. Refusing it allows the knight to jump to b6, leading to total positional collapse. The White king would remain in the center for the rest of the game. So, pawn takes d5, and White recaptures with the e4 pawn. Now the compensation is clear. Two connected central passers storming the Black king, still stuck in the center. The knight on f8 blocks its own king's escape. Black plays f5, trying to seize the initiative. f4 threatens to trap the bishop, but White plays d6. After queen c6, White sacrifices again, bishop b5, and Black must take this bishop just like they did with the knight on d5. Now it's a pin, queen and king, and they're forced to capture. After pawn takes back, we get another tactical shot. Black cannot take this pawn either, because the rook on a8 is hanging. But apparently, Black is already overwhelmed by the central pawn hammer and decides to sacrifice the rook anyway. Queen takes b5. White captures on a8 and the queen retreats to c6. It's worth noting that queen b7 would have been the better move, defending the rook and avoiding disaster, at least for the moment. For example, after c6, rooks would be traded. Even if White then captured, Black would have enough time to take on f1, and after bishop takes d7, the position would still be lost for Black. But there'd be hope. Still, some care was needed. But in the actual game, Black gives up the rook. After queen takes b5, rook takes a8, queen c6, attacks the rook. It should move, but instead, White brings in the second rook. They continue the attack on the king and allow f4. With nothing better, Black starts eating everything in sight. f4 traps the bishop. Rook a7 follows. Black thinks a bit and avoids taking the bishop right away, playing knight d7 instead. A rook invasion was coming, and doubling on the 7th would be lethal. But White keeps pushing their agenda, stuffing Black with pieces. Rook c8. After the check, it must be taken. Then comes queen d5. Another piece is left hanging. But White only cares about the Black king. Black greedily captures the bishop on e3. After queen e6 check, the king goes to f8. If king d8, there's mate in 1, queen e7. Now, just imagine if White had moved their knight, which is currently under threat. Of course, they don't. Instead, they capture on d7, and after check on f2, the White king calmly steps to f1, not even capturing the pawn. And that king move to f1 is incredibly precise. No worries about queen checks on a6. White can just take that pawn, and there are no more checks. But White now threatens mate in 1. Black's only move to prevent mate on f7 is offering a queen trade. But what queen trade? White still has 2 more pieces to give. So rook sacrifice on f7, white keeps stuffing black with material. Black captures, they have to, queen c8 check. Queen e8 follows, another queen trade offered. White accepts, but on their terms. d7, defending their queen on c8 while attacking black's queen. Of course, no one's going to take on c8, white would queen another pawn. Black has to retreat their king to f7 to activate their rook. After captures, we reach a position where black has 3 pieces for white's queen. Sounds like fair compensation, but not quite. Black has a strong passed pawn on c5. Queen check on b7, rook e7 blocks, and white fulfills their dream. They sacrifice the last piece, aside from the king, by pushing c6, offering up their queen. Black refuses. If they captured, then after trades, white queens on b8, and there's no defense. So black tries e4. They aim to unleash their final trump card, the f2 pawn. After e2 check, if white takes on f2, it's mate with queen e1. White spots the threat, but they don't panic. c7 follows. The pawn is 1 step away from queening. Black pushes their pawn toward promotion. The white king is a move away from mate. Only move? Queen d5 check. Black's king retreats to f6. Then queen d6 check. King f7. Queen d5. King f6. White uses the repetition to gain time. They just pass the time control. After queen d6 check, king steps back to f7. Now white sacrifices yet another queen on e7, taking out the attacking rook that was helping push the e3 pawn toward the white king. Then the white queen rises from the ashes on c8. Black has no choice but to cling to their passed pawns. So what's left now? White has given away their entire army. That queen is newly born, but the game isn't over. Queen check on c5. King steps aside. Check on b5. After queen b6, white grabs the pawn on g6. A double attack, hitting both bishop and knight. There's no way to defend both. Black decides their shotgun pawn has to fire. e2 check. White must be very careful. 2 captures are possible, f2 or e2. Try to find the winning move for white. 1, 2, 3. White captures on f2. The point is, if white had taken on e2, a deadly fork follows with the knight, hitting both king and queen. On f2, that doesn't happen. Still, black won't give up their tricks. Bishop check on e3. Black now starts sacrificing pieces, but white's had enough of black's pieces. King steps to e1. Here, black resigns. Of course, that bishop can't be taken. It would allow black to promote on e1, and if king takes on e2, it's the same fork. Black's knight hits both king and queen. So why did black resign after king e1? Didn't they have knight f4? Sure, but it's no compensation for white's queen. 2 minor pieces aren't enough, and the e2 pawn will soon fall. Plus, white will calmly pick off the b4 pawn with checks, then push their own passed pawn to promotion. A truly spectacular evergreen game. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.